Hi, it's Dr. Karen, and I have a very important and good email to share with you today. It's from Holly, and it's about endometriosis. So she says, I suffer endometriosis stage 4, left ovary removed. So that's advanced endometriosis. Hormones have been a complete mess since they attempted continuous birth control. I am currently with a reproductive endocrinologist and am on Vivel Dot and bioidentical progesterone, 200 milligrams, 14 days on and off. So what that is she's taking estradiol patch and a capsule, bioidentical progesterone, also called prometrium, by mouth, the second half of her cycle. So the last 14 days of her cycle. I continue to have sky-high sex hormone binding globulin, which no one seems to feel is an issue. Non-existent testosterone and DHEA. I attempted to use oral DHEA 5 milligrams daily and it caused acne. I also suffer with an antifungal resistant yeast infection. My question is, do you feel any of your products could help me? I am not opposed to creams or suppositories as long as they help and do not make my problems worse. Any guidance would be appreciated. Thank you. So, wow, Holly, there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, where do I begin? Okay, so first of all, endometriosis. Let's just clarify that. There's a lot of people out there, so I have my handy dandy trusty little female stuff. So our uterus is sandwiched in between the bladder and the rectum. So this is the front of the body, the back of the body. So the endometrium is a very thick muscle. It has to be to help contract and push that baby out when we have one, right? So the endometriosis is when this lining overgrows, and it can overgrow so much that it can actually extend out into the fallopian tube, out into the ovary, and even out further into the body, even sitting on top of bowel. It's painful and cause a lot of abdominal pain, and it can actually even cause bowel obstruction if it starts clumping on the bowel. So this is very serious and important condition. Now, what causes it? Well, primary cause is an estrogen dominance for many, many years, probably since puberty. So I don't know how old you are. It's good to know how old you are and also what your symptoms are and what you're looking to achieve. So I'm going to do the best that I can for you here, Holly. All right. So we know that endometriosis is caused by two overbalanced estrogen to progesterone. We need more progesterone, and you probably have for many, many years. So we've got a big issue with just being on progesterone, the oral progesterone, the last 14 days of the month. So that would be my first concern. If it were me, taking an oral progesterone, remember the oral is only good for about 6 to 10 hours. So that's standard treatment because that's what pharmaceutical companies make. But oral progesterone is only active in the body for 6 to 10 hours. Maybe if you're a slow metabolizer, 12 hours. So the other half of the day and then the whole first half of the month, your progesterone levels are probably low. I don't know. That's where the first thing I'm going to recommend is that you properly test your hormones. I know that you're testing through the endocrinologist, but properly test them where you can get this good ratio of progesterone to estrogen. I have a feeling that your progesterone to estrogen level is still low. And remember that you're going to test at the second half of the month, and that's when you are on progesterone, and I think it's still going to be low. So that's the first thing. Test your hormones properly. Do it either through blood spot or do it through saliva. I would recommend saliva because one of the causes of elevated sex hormone binding globulin is elevated cortisol. So if you do the saliva profile 1, you'll get that morning cortisol as well. So, and that's the only way to test cortisol is through saliva. So That's the first thing. You're not protected month long, and you're not protected day long with progesterone. And we know that endometriosis is the overgrowth of the endometrium from unopposed estrogen. So that's the first thing of concern for me, for you, in my mind, for you. The second thing is the elevated sex hormone binding globulin. There are a number of things that can cause elevated sex hormone binding globulin. In your situation right now, it may not be a bad thing. Now, later, you're going to want that corrected. But right now, being that all you're on is 5L dot and prometrium, bioidentical progesterone, an elevated sex hormone binding globulin is probably playing in your favor. Now, sex hormone binding globulin is a protein that binds with our sex hormones and helps transport the sex hormones to the different parts of the body. So it binds up the sex hormone. So when the sex hormone is bound to sex hormone binding globulin, it's not active. Okay, so that part is good for you right now, because if you have unopposed estrogen, at least it's not being used to make more endometrium. So your endocrinologist is probably secretly thankful that your sex hormone binding globulin is elevated. So some of the things that can cause elevated sex hormone binding globulin, other than the elevated cortisol level, is oral contraceptive pills in and of itself can cause it. So maybe, I don't know how long you've been off of that, but that can cause the, elevated sex hormone binding globulin, elevated cortisol, elevated estrogen, elevated thyroid hormone, low testosterone, low DHEA, all those can cause elevated sex hormone binding globulin. Now, the problem with that is you're probably not feeling that great because it's bound it all up. And guess what else it binds? It binds thyroid hormone. So if your thyroid hormone is bound also, then that, is going to make you feel more sluggish. Okay. All right, let me go back to this so I can stay focused on your needs here. It's not a specific question, except you're asking me about using my products. I want to help you as a whole, not just using my products. Okay, so non-existent testosterone DHEA is going to also make you feel sluggish. So if we want to improve that, if we want to increase your free testosterone, it won't increase your total testosterone, but what we want is free testosterone. Then what you want is actually to decrease the conversion of testosterone over into your estrogen and decrease conversion of DHEA over into the estrone. We want to decrease that. And the way you do that is to take an aromatase inhibitor. So a natural aromatase inhibitor, which is diindolylmethane. So diindolylmethane is an excellent product for you. It will decrease your estrogen, which is what we want to do because we want to, what I'm suspecting is that you're still estrogen dominant because you're on a fine dot. 5L dot is good. It's 100% estradiol, but I don't know how old you are. So that's a good estrogen, but for a younger woman, but that progesterone is still going to make you estrogen dominant because it's not enough. Okay, so diindolylmethane will help prevent that conversion of testosterone over into estrogen and DHEA. So the other thing, cruciferous vegetables, increase muscle mass through exercise. That will decrease the conversion of testosterone. Green tea, excellent. Now, with that in mind, okay, think of the hormone cascade. Go back to one of my pictures of the hormone cascade. Think of keeping that testosterone in where it's at. You want to prevent it from converting to DHT, dihydrotestosterone, and prevent it from occurring or creating estrogen. So you want to take your aromatase inhibitor, which is DIM, and you want to take a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor to prevent testosterone from making dihydrotestosterone, which we don't want, because that collects in the hair follicle and causes hair loss. Okay, so you've got a very complicated case here, as you see, and you might need a consult, but this I think will help you. And I can't tell you, oh, well, my products help your endometriosis, but I can tell you Hormone Protect, which is progesterone only, that's what I would think of using right now, month long. But the first thing I would recommend is testing your hormones on day 19, 20, or 21 with a ZRT saliva kit. Once you get that, then I think what you're going to see is that you're going to need Hormone Protect probably all month long, maybe skipping 3 or 4 days during your period, because I have a feeling you're on the younger end of people who follow me. So thank you for being here. Thank you for asking this question. This is very important. You had another question about it, or you just commented, and this is really important: chronic yeast infections. Okay, if they're antifungal resistant, let me recommend looking on the internet and picking up some boric acid vaginal suppositories. It is a good opportunity here to use a boric acid. I know that sounds creepy, but they're all over the place. Once you start reading about it, it won't creep you out. Boric acid suppositories are a natural antifungal, and they actually will help get rid of that. So take a look at that. And we also have to think about your gut, because why is that happening? You know, this is an imbalance. So is that gut healthy? Do we need to work on that gut and get that gut healthy? Okay, and liver, we got to think about the liver. Are you clearing your estrogens properly? Is that liver healthy? Okay, milk thistle is great for the liver. So a lot of things going on, Hallie. Thank you so much for your email, because endometriosis is a big deal. Okay, thanks so much. I hope this helped. Okay, bye-bye.